I'd like to thank head coach Vince O'Mara of the Lindenwood women's hockey team for joining us today to take a look back at the 2011-12 season and maybe take a look ahead at the 2012-13 season. Vince, with the season now over, you've had a few days to take a look back on the season. Can you sum up your first season of NCAA Division I hockey?
Yeah, for sure. First, before I get to that, I'd just like to give a sincere, great big thank you to our student athletes, our players. Our kids did a fantastic job this year with the extensive travel that we had to endure in our first year, the strength of schedule that we had. They just did a fantastic job both on the ice and in the classroom with everything, you know, that we've went through and learned, and the trials and tribulations that the girls maintained right at our 3.2 team GPA. So they did very well on the ice and in the classroom. Second, assistant coach Katie Kells did a fantastic job this year. Rick Pratt, our equipment manager slash rink general manager, did a great job, and this facility is just a grade A. It's a great place to call home. Mark Abney, you behind the camera, behind the computer, thank you so much for everything you did. And finally, my grad assistant, Kendra Kaiser, she kind of jumped on board this year and took over a lot of video stuff and helped out a great deal throughout the season. So big thank you to everybody involved. Now, looking back at the season, it was a great season. You know, we all learned so much, you know, what it takes to be at this level. You know, the time commitments, the total commitment from the student athlete. It was just a great year for us to learn a whole lot, and I think what we did learn this year is going to be very useful in the future in building a strong contending program, not too far down the line there.
To me, one of the biggest positives coming out of the season was the play of freshman Allison Wickenheiser. She finished the season with 19 goals, 17 assists for 36 points, which currently ranked her 30th nationally, and then even better, 4th among all freshmen. Can you talk about her play and her development?
You know, she did a fantastic job this year, and the scary part is I don't think that we've seen anywhere close of what she's going to have to offer us in the future. She's great offensive. She's got great offensive talent. It's just learning the whole game, you know, the play away from the puck as much as with the puck, and she's really bought into the total commitment part of it, and I think that we're going to see the next 3 years we're going to see her blossom into a very talented D1 hockey player.
As you know, the goaltending position's greatly important. You had two freshmen, Taylor Fairchild, who spent most of the time in goal this year, and then fellow freshman Briar Bache, who played in 5 games and won 3 of those games. Can you talk about the play of your goaltenders this season?
I think right off the bat, Taylor came in and claimed that #1 spot and did a great job. You know, a lot of our scores, even the ones that were lopsided against the Wisconsins, North Dakotas, and teams such as that, if she didn't play as well as she did, it could have been a lot worse. So I think we're happy with her play. We're looking at her to really step it up for next year, be a little bit more consistent throughout the season. Briar did a great job as far as improving throughout the year. She's got all the mechanics, she's got the work ethic and everything. I think her biggest focus is just getting working on her mental game, and if she can do that, which she has done a lot more of here recently, I think that we're going to be very happy with the two of them going into next season.
Your captain, Brett LeBreau, made a huge transition for your team, moving back from forward to defense. Can you assess her play and what that move meant to your team? And then maybe just talk about her role as a captain and how she grew in that position.
Brett did a great job. You know, first accepting that transition from forward to defense, and honestly, she was, you know, one of our top defensemen the entire season. You know, that along with just just every player that went through what we had to go through this year. Then you add the additional pressure of being a team captain. She did a great job. She accepted that role. She was on duty 24/7. You know, there was many times throughout the year I had to tell her, you know, just take a day off here or there, because she took it to heart. She wore it on her sleeve, and she did just a fantastic job.
Another thing I want to talk about is a couple of freshman forwards who had great seasons, Alyssa West and Caitlin Post. West finished second on the team in points with 24, and Post finished second on the team in goals with 13. Talk about their development and then how you're going to lean on them next year as being offensive weapons for you?
You know, we're looking at both of those girls coming in, coming from a prestigious AAA program such as Little Caesars. They both know the game very well. They're both very well-conditioned athletes. So they gave us a lot of what we were expecting. The growth that both of them had shown throughout the season is going to be just really exciting to see how they come into their sophomore year and continue to add, you know, depth to our program and leadership qualities. You know, both of them as freshmen, they both showed some leadership qualities and that total commitment that we're looking for.
Katie Erickson and Megan Cox logged a lot of minutes defensively for you. Talk about their improvement in the season and what you need from them to continue to improve their game.
I think Katie Erickson, you know, she took last year off from hockey and played NCAA Division I softball. She, you know, it took her a little while to find her legs and to get back into the hockey mindset. But as the season progressed, she really came on strong for us. She's a very solid shutdown defenseman, just a fantastic shot from the point. She played a lot of power play minutes for us, so we're going to look at her to continue to develop in that area. Megan Cox, another one that came from a great program, Shattuck St. Mary's. She was a very defensive-minded defenseman with Shattuck's. With their great depth on defense, that was the role that they asked her to play. We kind of asked her to play a little bit more of a transitioning offensive type defenseman this year, and at times struggled with it, but I think overall accepted that role, and I think with some off-ice conditioning and summer workouts and stuff, she'll improve and give more to the team next year too.
Looking at the season, your offense seemed to be pretty consistent all year. You guys averaged 2.66 goals per game, which ranked 20th out of 35 teams. So you're kind of right in the middle there. Is that something that surprised you, that you were as consistent as you were, and you know, do you think that'll be a strength going into next season?
I think so. Going into the season, I think the offensive depth that we had, we were, you know, pretty happy with. You know, obviously we didn't know until we got into the swing of thing. I think, you know, I would like to see more consistent scoring from our offense next year. I think with a good recruiting class coming in, it'll even add more depth to that. So we're pleased overall with it, but I think, you know, again, adding more depth to that and another year experience for these freshmen from this year, I think that we'll do even better next year offensively.
Unfortunately, you struggled on the defensive side of the puck. Averaged 6.2 goals against per game, and that ranked last among NCAA Division I team. Is that something from a coaching perspective that's like a #1 priority going into next season?
Definitely. We identified our defensive end and our defense as our biggest need for next year. You know, for different reasons. We had one of our top recruits, Hannah Turpinian from the Finnish national team. She had to sit out a year of competition this year, so she's going to come in and she's going to add some well-needed depth on defense in our recruiting class. That's what we're really focusing on. Bringing in some higher-end defensemen to help with that transition game. And I think, again, it goes back to having 14 freshmen on the team this year, that strength that's needed. You know, a lot of those battles that we were losing in front of the net, we're not going to lose next year because we're going to have, you know, an older, more mature, stronger team.
Your team allowed 46, just over 46 shots per game, but you look at the second half of the season, only allowed just over 22 shots a game. Is that something that you guys spent a lot of time on this year working in practice?
I'd like to take credit for that, but yeah, sure. No, you know, we did get better, but you know, we that first semester we're playing so many of the top teams in the country, the Wisconsins, North Dakotas, Mercyhurst, Mankato's. So, you know, our strength of schedule went down a little bit in that second semester, but we did show overall improvement, but a lot of that credit has to do with playing a very top-heavy first semester schedule.
Right. The power play had some success there, just over 15% on the season, which again ranked 20th out of 35 teams. Were you happy with the play of the power play?
You know, as the season's ended for us, yeah, I think, you know, being number 20, but there's definitely a lot of room for improvement there. Both special teams, you know, power play, we did okay. We definitely can improve there, and I'm sure you're going to ask about the penalty kill here shortly, so I'll wait till you ask on that one and what we need to do there.
Yeah, hitting on that subject, the penalty kill. Unfortunately, again, ranked last in the NCAA Division I with 64 or 65.6%. But a positive, you led or tied with the lead in shorthanded goals with Boston University with 9. Let me ask you, would you trade maybe a 90% success rate and maybe 6 or 7 less shorthanded goals?
Definitely, yeah, I think so. You know, and it took us a while as the staff to identify our players and which ones we could definitely lean on and count on for our penalty kill. And after, you know, we identified, you know, 5 or 6 girls that were definitely our go-to girls on the kill, it did get a lot better. So having that, you know, to build on for next year, that's definitely an area that we have to improve on. We're going to work very hard to improve on that because our penalty kill, you know, needs to be up there in the upper 80s to be competitive for next season.
Yeah, one of the things that you look at the penalty kill, and probably one of the reasons the percentage was so low is the amount of power play chances you were giving up. You gave up 163 power play chances against, which ranked 5th in NCAA. Is that a major concern going into next season?
I don't think so. I think with the type of year and the struggles that we had, and you know, just the overall speed and strength of the game, we took a lot more penalties this year than we will take next year. A lot of stick infractions, you know, stop moving our legs, and you know, different ones that we're not happy about. But I don't think that's going to be an issue or a problem. You know, once we get this season or going next year, we're going to see that we're a little bit more disciplined as far as the small infractions.
I know you can't talk about individual recruits, but how is the recruiting going for the 2012-13 team? And is there any major areas that you're looking at? We want to get these type of girls. We want to fill this position. Any details there?
Yeah, the recruiting is going well. We're very excited for a lot of our potential student athletes that we've identified that could come in and help the program right off the bat. It was a tough year, again, going back to the travel and the schedule that we had, and just having myself and my assistant Katie Kells on staff. We really didn't get out on the recruiting trail as much as we would have liked, but that being said, I think that we've identified and targeted some very, very talented student athletes for next year. And again, we're really focusing on adding to our defensive core and a little bit more depth on the forward position, and we're probably looking at bringing in another goaltender as well.
With the season over, you have a little bit of time here before the end of the second semester. What are you going to be doing on and off the ice with the girls, and what can you do to elevate their play going into next season?
Right. When the season's over, we're very limited as far as the time that we can spend with them as far as a coaching staff. So it takes the players, the captains, and that they're going to start their off-season workout program, start working out in the gym, you know, more frequently than we were able to during the season. And then we can have a certain amount of hours with a certain amount of student athletes. So we're going to start, you know, looking at just, you know, skill style drills and just getting ready for next season, so that the returning players kind of have a little bit of a jump start than what they had this year.
Like I said, you've had a few days to hopefully catch your breath here. How has the season been for you personally, and how have you seen yourself grow as a coach after this first NCAA season?
It's been a great year, very stressful at times, very trying at times, but I learned a whole lot, you know, as a person, as a coach, and it was just a great experience this year. The Mark Johnsons, the Brian Adolskis, the Steve Sertiches, the Scott Wileys, and I could go on, Mike Sistes of the league, really opened up themselves to, you know, questions, and you know, it just shows that they're very committed at growing this women's hockey sport, and I'm so thankful for everybody for everything that they did. And you know, as a coach, as a person, I learned a lot, and I'm very excited already for next year.
I want to thank Coach O'Mara for a great 2011-12 season, and it's certainly been an exciting new era of hockey here with the Lindenwood women's hockey program, and we definitely are looking forward to the 2012-13 season.
Thanks for having me.